Something unusual is happening in the skies right now. On February 28, 2026, the invisible highways of global aviation, corridors that have been relied upon for decades, began to systematically shut down. While most passengers only saw delayed or canceled on airport flight boards, the reality was far more dramatic. Missiles were crossing the horizon, and advanced air defense systems were being activated across the Middle East. Within hours, the predictable, synchronized world of international travel was thrown into a state of total chaos. Commercial aviation operates on a foundation of extreme predictability. Airlines build their schedules 6 to 12 months in advance, assuming their aircraft can fly through specific, narrow corridors of airspace every single day. But when the conflict involving Iran, Israel, and the United States escalated, some of the most critical air corridors on Earth suddenly became active war zones. According to consolidated aviation data from early March, more than 46,000 flights to, from, and over the Middle East were canceled or rerouted in a single week. Aircraft were forced to fly thousands of extra miles around closed airspace, scrambling crew schedules and leaving airports from London to Singapore overflowing with stranded travelers. But hidden beneath this operational nightmare is a massive tectonic shift in the industry. The very disruption that is crippling the world's most powerful superconnector airlines has quietly opened a window of opportunity for a carrier that many analysts had written off just 5 years ago: Air India. To understand how a regional conflict in the Persian Gulf could spark a renaissance for an Indian airline, we have to look at the fragile architecture of how we fly. For the last 30 years, the Middle East has been the undisputed center of the aviation universe. Airlines like Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Etihad built their entire business models around one powerful, unchangeable advantage: geography. If you look at a map of the world, the Gulf region sits almost perfectly at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia. This led to the perfection of the hub-and-spoke model. Instead of trying to fly a plane directly from a small city in Germany to a small city in Vietnam, which wouldn't have enough passengers to be profitable, these airlines funnel everyone into a central hub like Dubai or Doha. At these hubs, hundreds of planes land in waves. Passengers from 50 different cities disembark, walk through a luxury terminal, and board 50 different planes heading to their final destinations. This system is incredibly efficient and allowed Gulf carriers to dominate long-haul travel. Dubai International Airport didn't become the busiest international airport in the world because people wanted to visit Dubai. It happened because it was the world's most efficient waiting room. However, this model has a Goldilocks requirement. Everything has to be just right. The schedules are so precise that if a single flight is delayed by 30 minutes, it can cause a misconnection ripple effect that strands thousands of people. Now, imagine what happens when the entire airspace surrounding that hub becomes restricted. That is exactly what we are witnessing. When the Iran conflict escalated, the spokes of the wheel began to break. Gulf airlines rely heavily on Sixth Freedom traffic, passengers who have no intention of visiting the hub country. When those passengers see news of missile strikes or drone activity near their transfer point, they stop booking. The hub stops being a convenience and starts being a risk. The financial consequences of this shift are staggering. For a superconnector airline, a regional conflict isn't just a headache, it's an economic catastrophe. Industry reports from early March 2026 suggest that Gulf carriers and regional airlines have been losing upwards of $200 million per day in lost revenue. But the hidden costs are even worse. First, consider the fuel spike. Aviation fuel usually accounts for 30% to 40% of an airline's operating costs. When the conflict intensified near the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical oil choke point, energy markets panicked. Jet fuel prices, which were stable at $90 per barrel, suddenly spiked toward $200 per barrel. For a massive Airbus A380 flying a 14-hour route, that price jump can turn a profitable flight into a $50,000 loss in a single trip. Second, there is the war risk insurance. When a region is classified as an active conflict zone, insurance companies impose massive surcharges for every flight operating nearby. For a modern wide-body jet like a Boeing 787, these premiums can add $100,000 per round trip. Finally, there is the detour effect. To avoid the danger zones over Iran and Iraq, flights must take massive detours over the Mediterranean or the Hindu Kush. This adds 2 to 3 hours of flight time. That's more fuel burned, more wear and tear on the engines, and, crucially, flight crews timing out because they've exceeded their legal working hours. While the Gulf giants are fighting these rising costs, Air India is watching from a very different perspective. For decades, Air India was the sick man of aviation. It was known for aging planes, poor service, and massive debt. While millions of Indians traveled to London, New York, or Singapore, they almost always chose to connect through Dubai or Doha because Air India simply couldn't compete. But in 2022, the airline was privatized and taken over by the Tata Group. They launched a 5-year transformation plan called Vihaan.AI. The goal was simple: reclaim India's position as a global aviation leader. In 2023, they shocked the world by ordering 470 aircraft, and later expanded that to a total of 570 planes from Airbus and Boeing. This wasn't just a shopping spree, it was a strategic strike. A huge portion of this order consists of wide-body aircraft, the Airbus A350-900 and the Boeing 787-9. These planes are designed for point-to-point travel. Unlike the Gulf carriers, Air India doesn't need a massive connecting hub to survive. Why? Because India has the world's most explosive domestic demand. India is currently the third largest aviation market on Earth. Air India can fill a plane with 300 people in Delhi and fly them directly to London or New York, skipping the Middle East entirely. When the conflict broke out on February 28th, Air India saw an opportunity. On March 8th, they announced 78 additional international flights in a single week. They added over 17,600 seats to cities like Amsterdam, Zurich, and Frankfurt. They weren't just adding capacity, they were poaching the passengers who were too afraid to fly through the Gulf. However, the path to dominance isn't without its own set of, quote, war room challenges. Air India is currently navigating a geopolitical minefield of its own. Since 2025, Pakistani airspace has remained closed to Indian carriers due to diplomatic tensions. This is a massive geographic hurdle. Normally, a flight from Delhi to London would fly directly over Pakistan and Afghanistan. With that route closed, and with Iranian and Iraqi airspace now restricted due to the current conflict, Air India's flights to Europe and North America have to take a, quote, southern detour. To manage this, some of Air India's longest flights have been forced to make technical refueling stops in cities like Rome or Vienna. This adds 60 to 120 minutes to the journey. While this is a setback, it is still seen by many passengers as safer and more reliable than a connection in a primary conflict zone. To counter this, India is now pushing for the opening of a Central Asian air corridor. This would allow flights to pass north of the Himalayas and through Western Chinese airspace. According to research, this corridor could shorten westbound routes by 40 minutes, significantly reducing fuel burn. If Air India secures this, quote, northern route, they will have a permanent efficiency advantage over the Gulf carriers for any flight heading to the Western Hemisphere. As we look at the wreckage of the global flight maps today, a bigger question emerges. Is this just a temporary disruption, or are we witnessing the end of the hub-and-spoke era? For 30 years, we were told that connecting the world required a giant centralized hub. But the current conflict has exposed how fragile that concentration of power really is. When one hub fails, the world stops moving. Aviation history is defined by these moments of crisis. The 1970s oil crisis forced the retirement of gas-guzzling jets. The 2001 attacks reshaped airport security forever. The 2020 pandemic proved that business travel could be replaced by digital tools. And now, the great airspace shutdown of 2026 is proving that point-to-point travel, flying directly from your origin to your destination, is not just a luxury, but a necessity for global stability. India is currently investing billions into its infrastructure to support this shift. Delhi's Indira Gandhi International is expanding to handle 100 million passengers annually, and Mumbai is building a second massive international airport. These aren't just airports, they are the new anchors of a global network that is moving east. The Gulf airlines, Emirates, Qatar, and Etihad, are legendary for their resilience. They have survived wars and pandemics before, and they will likely survive this. But for the first time in 3 decades, they have a legitimate competitor who doesn't just have the planes and the money, but also has the passengers. The conflict in the Middle East may eventually fade. The missiles will stop, and the airspace will reopen. But some changes in aviation are permanent. Passenger behavior has shifted. The safe, direct route is now more attractive than the glamorous connection. The center of gravity in the sky is moving. It's moving away from the desert hubs of the 20th century and toward the rising giants of the 21st. The next time you look at a flight map, the most important crossroads on Earth might not be Dubai or Doha. It might be a few thousand kilometers to the east, in India. And ironically, The very conflict meant to disrupt the world may be the catalyst that finally puts Air India back at the top of the global aviation hierarchy.